This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Hey there, it's Brian Sebastian, movie reviews and more. And if it's Tuesday, first of all, it's Giving Tuesday. Every Tuesday it's giving. You should always give to your favorite charity, no matter what it may be. Obviously, St. Jude's Hospital and Dreamweaver Arts. But with that, I've been looking forward to this show for a while because we book these things so far in advance. Sometimes people forget. And I'm like, I got to remind you that, when you're 4 months booked in advance, I don't want to lose anybody. So it's one of those things. It's always about getting the word out for those artists. So I'm glad to have everybody here. Vlad, I'm glad to see you. Bobbie, I enjoy talking to you when I can get you on the phone. Kriss, I don't even know what the hell you've been doing. I just know you've been busy doing stuff. And I'm like, I got to have her back because I know she's got more stuff to talk about. And with that, as usual, one of my favorite hosts always pops in as soon as we start. Locally Tosh from Miami, Florida. We got to say hi to her. We got to say hi to Terry Marie because she's been busy doing a lot of stuff. I think she's in California, so she said, because she's been traveling. Howard Wiggins. Howard is always in Tennessee, but you know what? Being that dapper guy that he is, that actor who's can't wait to talk about his 1 or 2 movies that are coming out, that's a great thing. And streaming, let's see, where are we? Streaming live around over 100 outlets around the world as usual. I love what we do, and it's one of those things that's always about promoting those producers, writers, directors, artists, people in the fitness world, no matter what, those great documentaries that need to be seen, and it's all about mental health. So, and I think we just lost Bobbie, but so I'll talk about her until she pops back in. So she's a mortgage producer. She's the vision of that and president with over 30 years of experience and stuff. She's one of the best in the country. But also what people don't know is that she's become a documentary director. And with that, I love this. It's always about mental health, and she's here to talk about that. Bobbie, I was just talking about you as you disappeared. But, I was just talking about who you are and what you've done. So she's going to talk about that aspect because I didn't parlay this in to what Vlad has. I love Generation Iron. I love his Vladar Company. I love the stuff that he does in the documentary world, whether it's Ronnie Coleman, was Terry. She just popped out too. She knows this on the fitness side. These icons, when you're doing these things in the fitness world, mental health world, bodybuilding, everything kind of connects. And I just love the stories that he puts out there. His stories on, the YouTube influencer, Bradley Martin, which is interesting. And I love watching this film. I actually saw it 3 times, Vlad, and I don't have time to watch a film twice. So for me to watch it 3 times, that said something, because not only did it talk about mental health, it talked about what he did to buck the system to keep that gym open. And I thought that was interesting. And then we get to Kriss. So when you got that 19 Arts development, and it's one of those things where you're that producer and that person that reaches out to me, Kriss, I think about you all the time. I tell a lot of people that you reached out to me that one time on LinkedIn. And I think that's important because I will answer if I see something, because everybody needs something. Everybody needs to talk about their stories. And I think that's important, especially women. So, Bobbie, I'm going to talk about you first. Let's talk about your film. Why is this film important? And then give the audience just a little bit of your background on what you do in mortgage.
Well, thank you. So thank you so much for having me, Brian. I really appreciate it. And I've really enjoyed getting to know you over the years. Breakthrough is the official title is Breakthrough, a Mental Health Journey. And this follows 5 different stories from across the country. We filmed in Austin, Texas, Los Angeles, Florida, and New York. And it really is a powerful film that follows 5 different stories. We have a gal that was sexually assaulted, a gal with an eating disorder, someone that was a Division I athlete and came out as gay and what he went through with that, a gentleman that fought in the war and came back with PTSD. And then my son and I's story, my son died of accidental fentanyl poisoning a few years ago. And so the story is about him and what he went through, and then about me as a parent, what you go through when you lose a child. So we feel like the movie will have a broad appeal to a lot of different people and really get the message out about mental health. We want people to know they're not alone, that there is help, and that we give tips in the movie as to what people can do, not just someone that's going through a mental health crisis, but the family and the friends around them, what you can do. So we feel like it's going to be a big hit. We have a distributor, so we should be on a streaming service soon, and it'll be nationwide. So we're very excited to get it out there.
And talk about your daytime job just a little bit too, because you're still one of the best at that. Everybody starts someplace, but I always remind them there's a story where you got to before you became that co-director, that co-producer.
I've been in the mortgage business for 3 decades, and I have my own company that is called Dyer Mortgage, and it's a division of primary residential mortgage. And I do loans all over the country, but I primarily focus in Florida. And it's been a real pleasure to be in the mortgage business, even through the ups and downs of what we're going through. It's always a pleasure to work with clients and to put people in homes and to make their lives better. So it's been a real honor.
So Vlad, I got to parlay this into you because I forgot that, this story also talks about a little bit of mental health too. Talk about your company, because I think you have one of the best production documentary companies out there. You've got this niche in the world of fitness and bodybuilding without telling those stories, but you also kind of branch outside that too. You're not pigeonholed in, but I just love the stories that you tell. It's an honor to finally meet you on this, to be on our show. And I just love the stuff that you put out, the product you put out. I think it's some of the best that I've ever seen in the world.
No, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it, of course. Yeah, so I work a lot in the fitness space, a lot of documentaries and sports, and bodybuilding, of course. But what I've learned over the years of making these films is that just like in sports and bodybuilding, a lot of people deal with mental health issues, and it's a lot more advanced. Even I feel like it's a lot of the time it's overlooked. You know what I mean? So I feel like when our films, we explore not just the physical aspect of fitness or sports, but we explore a lot of mental issues, mental health issues, of course. And the Bradley Martin film that you mentioned, it definitely, I would say it's 50-50, you know what I mean? Obviously, for those who don't know, Bradley Martin is a big fitness influencer on Instagram and social media and YouTube, but he dealt with, suicidal thoughts his whole life, essentially. And his father actually took his own life when Bradley was 6 years old, So a lot of the films that we do deal with mental health issues and just, life in general.
And I didn't think about that at that point, but that is so true. We're going to show these trailers in a minute. But Kriss Young, what have you been doing since I last talked to you? You're always in my mind on what this young lady is working on. I just never know, but I just know you've been working on a couple things.
Well, thanks for having me on your show, Brian. I think the last time I was on was in August, and I had a couple in post. Since then, one of those has dropped on streaming platforms. Tubi is the best way to find me. I have A Dangerous Prey that is going to drop here in just a few days, and it deals with a couple that flee urban gentrification only to move to a new community and have to deal with racism. So it kind of deals with a lot of social issues in that, although it is a narrative feature film. And that's what I'm doing, is working on that one at the moment. And then I also have our 8th film called Beauty, Grace, Malice is in post, and it'll be coming out eventually soon as well.
See, last time I was checking, you had 4. See, that's how quickly you've been moving. I knew that we were doing that.
We were moving really, really quick in 2023, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been great. We've been knocking them out.
Locally, Tosh, tell them who you are and where you're coming from and what you're doing, followed by Terry.
Yeah, so hi everyone. Thank you for coming on and being on our show. Hang out with us on a Tuesday. So I'm Natasha. They call me vocally Tosh. And I've known Brian since the pandemic. He actually was the first person to get me an interview as a musician, because I do urban Latin music, and that's how we met. And now I'm part of, his co-host team along with Terry Marie. And all I love to do is music. I breathe, love music. And I decided to take a leap of faith back in the pandemic and started doing my own original music. And it's a lot of fun. I'm from Miami, so it's very Miami flow. It's the type of music that you're gonna hear, and you're gonna want to like get up and like, you know, motivate yourself to like go outside, like go do something, because that's my personality, is always like trying to bring people up. So you'll hear that through my music. I have my latest single called Sugar Daddy, which is out at this moment. It's a dembo type of song, very fun song. The production and the video production is really cool. So I invite you guys to listen to that. And currently I am working on a collaboration. I'm doing an Afrobeat type song with a singer from Orlando. So yeah, we're just continuing the hustle and grinding and just enjoying every part of the journey.
Nonstop.
Hi, I'm Terry Marie. I'm in California. I am a fitness competitor. I haven't competed in a couple years, but I'm planning to get back on stage. I just am dealing with some family stuff that's kind of put it kind of on a hiatus, but I've won Muscle Beach. I've done Fitness Universe. I placed first place, and I've done second in NPC. I'm also into art, and I'm in orthopedic sales with bracing and support. I work with a lot of athletes and orthopedic trainers, orthopedics and trainers and hospitals, and I'm a pretty busy girl. And I've been with Brian since 2015.
It's 10 years now. Who would have known?
Yeah, 10 years doing red carpet interviews and events with Brian.
Howard Wiggins. What room are you in? What are you wearing?
I'm Howard Wiggins. I live in Nashville, Tennessee. I'm in my living room. I'm son of Little Roy Wiggins, plays steel guitar for Eddie Arnold, Tori Morgan. They call me country music royalty because I know pretty much all the old original Opry people. I'm 70 years old, so that kind of tells you why. And I've got 2 movies coming up that's I'm going to be doing. One's kind of a comedy monster type thing. The other one's it's coming out as a more suspenseful movie. So look for me then. Also, The Haunted Farmhouse, which is my first movie I've been, by TJ Cates. It's now on Amazon.com. You can rent it and buy it.
So let's talk about this. Let's see this breakthrough documentary first, and then we'll talk about that, and then we'll go to the Generation Iron after that. I think we have it queued up.
There is no doubt in my mind there is a mental health crisis in the United States today.
Alcoholism, drug abuse, gambling disorders, eating disorders, sexual addiction, just running rampant.
Social media, instant gratification, high levels of hypervigilance and stress that society has gone in, political conflict.
It's downplayed. People don't like talking about it. People don't think it's that important. People minimize mental health.
It's not if you're going to have a mental health issue in your life, it's when.
There's this tidal wave of brokenness and pain and issues that is coming at us in the field. And unless we work together, we're going to see it overtake us.
Healing is a journey. It's a process. It's a lifelong journey and process.
Just like you think about your physical health and staying healthy, how many times do you go to the gym up here? Mental health is a journey. Journeys aren't always straightforward, and it is something that is human.
There's always a light. And sometimes if the light's not around you, sometimes you got to beat the light.
All right, so Bobbie, did you she's gone. Oh, she's gonna come back. So let's do this. We're gonna go I want to go into Vlad's trailer because it's been a while since I've seen it. So Rebel, if we get a chance, let's click that. And Bobbie, we're gonna come back and talk about your film in a minute. And Vlad just jumped off. Where did he go? All right, so Bobbie, let's do this. Let's talk about your film. Go ahead. Oh, maybe she can't hear us. Bobbie, did we lose you? Oh, we must have lost her. Hey there.
We're playing cat and mouse right now.
That's kind of funny. Let's do this. Hey, Rebel, is yeah, let's show this next trailer and we'll have them both talk about it.
Good. Brad is a social media powerhouse. The numbers he moves is insane. He's trying to help people understand where he came from, and maybe that could help them on the situation that they're dealing with.
The term influencer, people kind of like, oh, an influencer, just a person with followers on the internet. But I think it can be so much more. It is what you make it. To me, it feels as if it's a gift. My father was severely depressed. My father hung himself when I was 6. I used to think, if I'm like my father, am I going to end up like my father? Depression is interesting. It's like you don't feel anything. It's like gray. Before social media, before the internet, before I knew I could have followers, I found the gym, and it completely changed my entire life. Even though in the beginning, it was to just avoid those thoughts.
Fellow Americans, tonight I want to speak with you about our nation's unprecedented response to the coronavirus outbreak. This is a global pandemic.
There's a state mandate, and they were like, gyms aren't essential. We closed the gym down like right away. Then, you know, naturally I started questioning like, how scary is it really? And then as it progressed, I was like, bull. I guess we're not supposed to be open, but I really wanted to have it open because I know how important this is for some people, so I want to make sure that I had it there for them.
Now that it's back, I'd rather be working out than having sex.
Not all the time for me, since I like both.
I guess they weren't bluffing. They told us for a while they were going to cut it off.
99% of people would have folded months ago. Brad has elephantitis of the balls.
There could be fines, there could be jail time. The gym ain't closing. That gym's never closing.
At times I try to figure it out. What was so bad you had to take that route? It's still to this day I pray that.
All right, so did we lose? We lost Bobbie again. Interesting. So Vlad, before we get into you, I gotta ask Terry this because this is important to Terry. If Terry doesn't go to the gym, she goes nuts, and I'll hear about it.
It's
All
my
right, go ahead, Terry. Go ahead.
it's my stress relief. It's the way that I don't go into depression. It's actually the gym has saved my life several times because I don't know if I didn't have the gym, I would probably turn to drinking or something unhealthy to handle stuff. And I'm just being honest. You know, we all have our demons, but when COVID hit, I was the same way. I just was like, I can't do this. I have to go to the gym. I went out and bought a ton of gym equipment, and then fortunately for me, Dave Fisher and Torrance didn't shut his gym down. So I joined that gym. I left Equinox closed, so I went over to Dave Fisher's, and then I believe a lot of professional athletes from Golds and Venice came to Torrance to work out, and he refused to shut his door. So this really is something I can really relate to because I lost friends over going to the gym, telling me I was irresponsible, and I was like, if you don't want to hang out with me, that's your choice. I'm going to make a choice for my health and my mental sanity that I'm going to go to the gym, and I literally lost several friends over it. It's really, really sad, but I had to make a stand for what I felt I had to do for my own health and my own being, and it got me through COVID because I was able to go to the gym. I don't know what would have happened. And there's also there's just something about being in that gym atmosphere that I need. I don't know what it is, but it just motivates me so much more. Like been working out in the house, it just doesn't give me that same motivation. So, you know, some people are not going to like what I say about this, but, you know, I'm going to stand by my beliefs, and I'm glad that I stood my ground, and I think we all have that right to do what's right for ourselves and our bodies. This is my opinion, like it or not. So, there you go.
All right, Vlad, go for it. Kriss, we're coming to you next. All right, Vlad, go for it. Talk about how tough it was to do this documentary, but also why I watched it 3 times, not only because the message in it, but for my friends who go to the gym all the time.
Right. I mean, when we started making this film, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So the film was originally meant to explore what it's like to be an influencer in today's world, right? It's a very broad, name, the influencer, right? So we're kind of exploring what it's like to be an influencer in the fitness space. And then, of course, COVID hit, right? So this movie's been in the making for quite some time. And then, the whole mandate came out to close the gyms in California and all over the nation. And Bradley actually opened his gym, and he was facing, prison time for that. He went against the state mandate. So the film turned into created a whole different dimension to the film. Him taking a stand, him going through legal issues, of course, going to court every week. And, so it's like the influencer turned into something completely different, really, And like what you were saying about the gym being your therapy, it was the same thing to a lot of people, of course. So I can totally understand what you're saying, because essentially when he opened the gym, everybody started going there, It's funny, some guy was living in the van outside of the gym because he wanted to go to the gym and not pay rent to live in his apartment. Like literally that intense, So to a lot of people, the gym became an escape from a lot of different things. And for a lot of people, it still is, and always will be. So this film explores that to the next level. So like I mentioned before, the mental health aspect of it goes far beyond just the physical, So that film really dove deep into that, what it really is for some people to go to the gym and what it really means,
Absolutely. Howard, talk about your gym. Chris, I didn't forget about you. Howard likes to dance. That's more of his motion and stuff. And for me, I like to walk and a little bit of running, but I'm more of that cross trainer, if anything, that I do that. But I respect the hell out of what people want when it comes to that, especially what Terry was going through. So Howard, talk about what keeps you in shape, especially since you look like Sean Connery, that 70-year-old dapper guy.
Well, I used to work out all the time with a friend of mine and two other ladies that we worked out. And then one of the ladies got cancer, and she just became a heart doctor. She was about 10 years younger than I am. And I decided when I turned 60 years old, I was going to walk as far as I could in one day as a tribute to her. And so when I turned 65, I walked 53 and a half miles in one day. So wow. That was the biggest. And I could have done more, but my phone kept dying. I didn't have a Fitbit, and I had to go pick up my wife from work. So it's like, I know I could have done more. And I kept thinking about it. Well, maybe when I turn 70, I should do 70 miles, but I kind of didn't do it. But I thought about it anyway. But yeah, I think just stay active, keep moving, keep trying new experiences. There's all kinds of things you can do to stay fit and stay young. And then, of course, my story where I lost 100 pounds years and years ago and never did gain it back. I did that on Atkins. Didn't even buy the book, but it worked for me. And they put me in the local paper, and I would like to call them back, but everybody's probably deceased or left the newspaper and say, it's healthy. Look at me. I'm 70 years old. I got a 29-inch waist. It's like, I proved you wrong. So.
Yeah, you did. This guy can dance for hours. I've seen it many times. All right, Tosh, real quick, but then I got to go to Kriss. Well, you like to dance too. So that's the one thing that I like. You're always doing your music videos and things like that and creating different things.
Yes. I mean, I honestly, if I wasn't a singer, I probably would try professional, like trying to be a professional dancer. If I had time to do both, that would be fantastic. But I honestly, in all my music videos, I'm always with dancers. I always like to incorporate the whole entertainer aspect into my music. So yeah, dancing is a great way to, burn calories. You're having a lot of fun. And like, by the time you like look at the watch, you're like, oh my God, it's been like 3 hours and I've been like dancing nonstop. It's really, it's nice for the soul.
All right, so Kriss, let's talk about what you're working on right now, and then we're going to show you a trailer, and then Bobbie, we're coming back to you because we lost you a couple times. Kriss,
well, before we talk about my trailer, I've got to say, Bobbie and Vlad both, your videos, your movies that you guys are making I really appreciate you guys putting those out there and working on something that talks about mental health. I lost my husband of 22 years to suicide about 12 years ago. And even 12 years ago, we did not talk about mental health as much as we do now in 2024. And it's still not talked about enough. And we need movies like both of your all's movies out there to allow people to talk about it. And even though we talk about it more now than we ever have before, we still don't talk about it enough. So I really, really appreciate you guys putting that out there. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your kind words.
Sure. Thank you.
So anyway, to my movie, my latest one is called A Dangerous Prey, and I make narrative films for entertainment. So, you know, it's kind of different than your all's. I feel like you guys are doing something that's, I mean, mine is important, it's entertaining and everything, but you guys are doing so much more. So, but anyway, do we have my video up? There we go. Let's watch it.
What happened to old man Weaver?
Look, I don't know any Weaver.
Found your big boy toy.
I don't know.
$100 grand, Aiden.
Come on out, you figure? Yep.
Kriss, talk about your producing partner, Terry Spears.
Let's see. Terry and I have worked together on making movies since about 2015, 2016, I guess. So we've been at it just a little under 10 years. He actually comes from the music industry, was a touring musician and a studio musician as well before he got into movies. And he kind of pulled me into it as well. And I got bit, I guess, by the bug, and can't imagine doing anything else now.
See, and that's a great thing. And I like the fact, like I tell people all the time, last year for me, I thought was the best year for independent films ever. And the reason I could say that, because I watch a hell of a lot of films that I keep track of. I don't have my notebook in front of me. But I every film that I've watched since 1992, I write down. And by the end of the year, I write my totals down. And I love doing that because I don't see anybody else doing it, but you know, you got to validate all the stuff that you're doing. So when I see these films, you know, and people reach out, you know, we're supposed to help promote these things. We're supposed to help to get the word out on the platforms, because not everybody's watching Apple, or everybody has a Netflix, but not everybody's watching all the films on them. So it's up to us to tell people where to go. So for like Vlad's film, for Bobbie, what she's doing, you got to get them out there. If it's out of film festivals, you got to show them what film festivals are at and how to support that. And that's really, really important. So Vlad, I'm going to come to you in a minute, but Bobbie, since you're there, let's talk about how you became that producer of this breakthrough, and why that's important to you, and why that's important for the audience. Because Kriss is right. I didn't know Kriss's situation with her husband. But it really does go back to mental health, because when I'm watching these films, I'm looking to see who I can turn a film onto that may have that issue going on.
Great question. Sorry for the technical difficulties there, but I think we're all fixed. I made the movie for a number of reasons. I was approached by a director that wanted to do a film about my son, and I wasn't comfortable with having a movie just about myself and my son. I'm a private person, and I really didn't want to discuss it publicly. But I came around to the idea after we discussed it further and decided to do a film that would include 5 different stories. If it wasn't all about just my story and my son's story, I felt more comfortable with doing it. My father committed suicide right before my son died. So it was a very difficult time for me. And as a mom, as a parent, it's nothing that you expect is to bury your child. You don't expect to lose your child. So there was a lot of difficulties that I went through. My friends know that the wheels kind of came off the bus for a little while, but I had great support around me with family and friends that really got me through it. And I thought if there were some tips that I could share, and if we could get the word out to the general public that there are a lot of different mental health stories out there, and tell them that it's okay to not be okay, and tell them that there are resources available. And also as a friend, if you know someone that's going through something, the question is, what do? It's, you feel paralyzed. You just say, are you okay? And then the person says, fine. I've tried to change the way I look at things, and I say to someone, tell me how you're doing. So that way it makes them open up a little bit more. And if they are going through something, they might share that with you. And we might be able to solve some of these problems by getting involved more soon and at the beginning of the problem instead of letting it snowball. So that was my purpose for making the movie. I think we can do a lot of good out there. I think by sharing different stories, it'll relate to a lot of different people. And I think by giving solutions and openness about it, I think it will really help the general public. And I think people will really enjoy the film.
Hey, Vlad, talk about this, and then Tasha, I'll let you know, Howard, I'll let you, in, open it up. How did you become a filmmaker? How did you start your production company? Because this is important. It's the same thing how Kriss started her thing, and people quit their job to start to do something what's important to them. But not a lot of people understand that it's not easy to do these things. It's not easy to get distribution. It's not easy to put everything out there, and it takes years. And I've always said this, documentaries take an average of 7 years to do. But once you get, unless you're, a Ken Burns and you're working on 5 at one point, which is what he does for PBS, it's difficult. Talk about your story, Vlad.
Well, I mean, being a filmmaker is very difficult. You guys all know, right? There's never like a very clear path, to success. Even just to make a film is sometimes not as, straightforward. So for everybody, it's a different story. For me, it was, it was through actual writing. That's how I originally got started, and then of course, documentary is something that I started doing more and more of, so I became more successful in it. But for me personally, I think what made it successful is sticking to a specific genre, which was sports and fitness, and kind of sort of make it in that industry, that I kind of picked a niche and stuck with it, so I was able to build a production company and distribution through that avenue, build the audience within that industry. And of course, we do other things outside of it, but primarily we stay within that industry. And I think, ultimately just try to create a niche for yourself and become good at that, and cater to that audience. I think that's the most initial thing I think everybody can do, It can be music, it can be whatever genre you pick, try to succeed in that genre first.
Talk about the Ronnie, Terry knows this, being in the world of fitness. The Ronnie Coleman story is important because here's a guy that did everything, Mr. Olympia, and, being that police officer. And then he starts to develop, health problems. But one of the most respected fitness athletes of all time. Talk about that story, because that was a great doc.
Yeah, I mean, Ronnie Coleman is, I guess, to describe him so people understand, if you're not into bodybuilding, he's like the greatest of all time bodybuilder, and now he's in a wheelchair, So this is the man that got 8 Mr. Olympia titles. Mr. Olympia is, the biggest, it's like a Super Bowl of bodybuilding, So he got 8 of them back to back. And he was one of the strongest bodybuilders of all time. He was able to squat 800 pounds, we're talking about like a major, specimen of health and fitness. And then he injured his back, and he kept working out throughout his injuries, and he went through multiple surgeries. So now he either walks on like crutches or he's in a wheelchair. But the crazy thing is, he still continues to work out in the gym despite going through pain and stuff like that. And it's because it's in his blood, essentially. That's talking back to what he was born to do. It's something that he loves, and he never wants to leave that industry or the gym, and he never wants to change anything. You know what I mean? So like, if you look back in his life, even despite his injuries, he never wanted to change anything in his life. That's what makes the story so interesting.
Absolutely, great doc. And where can people see that? Because that's all your docs, people should see them. It's not necessarily about the world of fitness. It's about the stories of what everybody goes through. And I always tell people that it's really, really important.
Yeah, absolutely. The Ronnie Coleman one, I think it's on Netflix, either Netflix or Prime.
Yes.
I think a majority of our films is either on Netflix or Prime, Amazon Prime.
Kriss, talk about what's been happening with you, because what I see locally Tosh doing, I see kind of like how you probably started getting into the world of producing independent film. Talk to me that, because the last couple of years have been the world of women producing great films, but not easy. Not easy.
It's not easy to produce independent films. It's not easy to produce any type of film, no matter what you are, male or female. It's a lot of hard work, as everybody here knows. A lot of people don't realize that probably the hardest part about independent film is that we are on our own for marketing. So, we can make the best film in the world, but if I can't get any eyeballs to watch it, then nobody knows. And we aren't a big, huge studio, so we don't have a big machine behind us to get a bunch of eyeballs on our movies. So the hardest thing for me as a producer is the marketing. It's honestly harder than even finding the funds to make the movie to begin with. So that's why it's so important that we have outlets like you, Brian, that support us and give us platforms to be able to find our viewers and our audience.
Give you social media links for everybody.
My social media links, you can find me on Instagram at producer Kriss Young. I'm also on Facebook under 19 AD Films. And then you can find us on our website at 19artistdevelopment.com.
Tosh, you know what it's like to put your music videos together. This is how people start out doing stuff. Spielberg started out shooting what you were doing, what you're doing now with your stuff. Talk about that.
Yeah, I definitely could relate with Kriss and probably everybody on this interview that, being an independent artist, film musician, there is all the investment that comes from you basically, and then trying to get people to actually listen or, chime into what you're doing. Like one of the hardest things for me, just like Kriss, is marketing, exposure. Brian was one of the first few people that interviewed me about like my music, my life. And, that has led to like things like me singing in Times Square, me going to Vegas for showcases. So it's very important for like, thank you, Brian, for always being that outlet that accepts anybody that has a passion for what they're working on. And it's really beautiful because like, not everything is all about what the famous people are doing. And, we're all important people. We don't have so many eyes on us, but what we are doing is important and must be watched. So, I just want to say thank you to Brian for, always giving this platform for everybody to be able to come and talk about, what we are passionate about, what we're talented. We're all talented people. So yes, it is hard, with the exposure, but honestly, I've been doing it for 3 years, and I've definitely learned how to approach, radios and podcasts and, journalists and stuff like that. And I've gotten, a lot of interviews and like placements and publications. So, it's all about just not letting that, get you down if you don't get enough people to watch. Like right now, my videos have been hitting 1K, and that just recently happened within the single that I just released and my other single before that. So, it's a process. And at least if you see yourself that you're continuing leveling up, that's what's important.
Yeah. So, Vlad, talk about this. Talk about the Tony Pearson story, because that was another great doc. And, we did him live in Tennessee when I was there for stuff. But this is another interesting story. And then I think you went to LA Fit Expo. Was it this past weekend? Was that right?
Yeah, he was there. I didn't direct that film. We distributed it for Tony. Tony is he's a great soul. He went through a lot in his life, overcoming a lot of obstacles, and becoming a bodybuilder, of course. Another great story. There's a lot of great stories in the sport of bodybuilding. I think a lot of people don't really, they don't really see bodybuilders as people with maybe depth sometimes, But Tony is somebody who's a real artist. I think you would agree with that, right? I mean, if you saw the film, like, he's a really artist that really perfected the art of posing. Probably one of the best posers of all time in bodybuilding. So it's really like, obviously it's strength and it's power and it's working out and it's dieting, but you know what I mean? Like if you look at the way he talks, the way he explains things, and especially the way he built his posing in his life, really you can see that it's an artist, and the bodybuilding is kind of like his canvas.
So you also are out there helping a lot of these films underneath, the Vladar Company and then Generation Iron also too, right?
Yeah, for sure. We do a lot of distribution. We're gonna. Are you familiar with Eddie Hall? He's a strongman from UK.
Yeah.
So this year we're going to put out his movie out. So Eddie Hall is you know, it's a big name in strength sports. So we'll do a lot of distribution as well, and as well as production.
And also the Rich Gaspar work, right?
Yeah, Gaspari. He's a Jersey native. You know, that's a cool guy too. You know, he built a huge business in a sport of fitness. And he's, you know, he's like in his 60s right now, and he's still going strong. You know, and he went through a lot of ups and downs. You know, with his divorce and kind of like losing the company and getting it back. A lot of ups and downs outside of the fitness industry, like just in the business.
And that's why I like about these films. It's, you know, it's everybody loves a comeback story one way or another, but you know, you specifically focus in that world, and nobody else is touching that I've seen. And I scroll for these things, and when I see them, I'm like, yeah, this is another one that is from this company. So congratulations on that. I mean, I love the stuff that you put out. Bobbie, talk about this. It's not easy doing what you did, coming from what happened to you either, because I have a feeling this is not your last film, is it?
No, it's not. I'm actually working on a TV show that we're going to bootstrap onto the movie. Hopefully, we're working on that. And I'm very excited to make more documentaries. It was really a passion of mine, and being the executive producer and co-creator, as well as being in the film, was challenging, but it was really rewarding. And I can't wait for it to be on a streaming service soon. Thank you so much, Brian. All you do is really appreciated.
Well, you know, and Howard would tell you, Howard, we're gonna talk about the Gloria Gaynor doc again. Again, when no one is seeing these films, and I keep talking about it week after week after week, and you're supposed to see these films, and then they're seeing films that people aren't seeing, you know, that's ridiculous. There's so many films that are at film festivals that you just can't possibly see them all. But when they come on, you got to find a platform that they're on. And I know this, I actually take the time to scroll through and look for stuff for like 15 and 20 minutes while I'm on a long phone call with Terry half the time. But I'm looking for these things. These other people, they don't have the time to do this. They want to go and watch a movie right away. And I dig deep for all this stuff. So like today, you know, Apple TV reached out for Masters of the Air, which I love. And if you know this, Steven Spielberg, Tom Hanks, Playtone Productions, they did Band of Brothers. You remember that series, and Pacific? Well, Masters of the Air are on Apple TV right now. So now they want me to interview those guys, and I can't wait to do that because it's a great series so far. But when it comes to these things, not a lot of these people are seeing these things, and they don't always have the platform or the reach, but we do. So Terry, talk about what you got coming up. We got a couple minutes left. Go ahead.
What I have coming up, I'm not sure yet. I'm kind of going day by day. I'm training. I did put a goal of June to do a show. I'm starting my dieting and stuff February 1st. So I guess that's putting that out there. That's about it for right now.
Social media links.
Terry Marie Nonstop on all platforms, and then terrymarieofficial.com.
Tosh, your social media links.
Yeah, so it's vocally Tosh on all platforms. You can find me on all streaming platforms, as well as Natasha Rumbo, so you can check out my latest single, Sugar Daddy. And make sure to go to my website, natasharumbosmusic.com, because we got merch for Sugar Daddy and for Tosh Baby, so check that out.
Hey, Vlad, give your social media links for people, because, you know, you always want people to look to see what you guys are working on next.
Yeah, for sure. Check it out across all social media is Generation Iron. And if you guys want to just learn about the sport of bodybuilding or get some kind of fitness advice, you guys can check out generationiron.com.
And what are you looking for next? If someone's got a good idea, do they come to you, or you guys create your own?
It's really both, honestly. It's a lot of projects are brought to us, you know. We always seek out for great projects, so you guys can shoot us an email at info@generationiron.com, you know, and you know, even if it's not about fitness or bodybuilding, sometimes we work with a lot of different other genres as well.
And Bobbie, so how can people reach out to you on your film, and where is it going to go?
Okay, so we had our world premiere here in Melbourne, Florida, so it'll be on a streaming service soon, which we will announce. And my website is www.bobbiedyer.com. That's BOBBIEDYER.com. I'm on Facebook and Instagram as Bobbie Dyer, and the movie's website is breakthroughdocumentary.com.
So Howard, I got to talk about Country Box at the Troubadour. You know where that is in Nashville, Tennessee.
Oh yeah.
So with Jimmy Adams, that Terry knows, what are they? You know, they've got 125 million platforms around the world that bringing the world of country and boxing to Tennessee, but also music in there. And Terry, it keeps growing. And I'm just so happy that in 2018, we went down to Tennessee, because who would have known we would have 12 million views and counting just out of the state of Tennessee and not on YouTube. You couldn't have told me that. And I talk about this every day to these people when we're talking about people and how to get things out there in a different way. So Howard, talk about this. Talk about why Tennessee is so huge with everything that's going on. You hear about it, but until you're there, you don't know how busy it is. And I was just at the CES convention. No, it doesn't hold a candle to what's going on in Tennessee.
I think a lot of California is moving out to Nashville. Nashville's been raised around a lot of country music, and there's a star that lives near anybody. So we kind of leave people alone. We don't go up and ask for autographs and bother their private life. And then we've got a safer city to raise kids in than I think California is. And I think and what you can buy in California versus what you can buy here, it's a lot more here. So we've got these big monstrous houses going up everywhere. But also Nashville Women in Film has merged with Knoxville Women in Film in Tennessee. There's studios coming to the Nashville area. So we're not just country music anymore. It's heading toward the movies. It really is.
Absolutely. All right. So Howard, social media links, go ahead.
Just Howard Wiggins Facebook, Howard Wiggins Twitter.
So I've got to mention this one. So Bobbie,
yes,
what got you into liking films? The first thing that comes to your head, followed by Vlad. Go ahead.
They're just enjoyable to watch. They just make you feel good.
You got one particular film that sticks out?
The Hunt for Red October is one of my favorites.
Mm-hmm. And you got Sean Connery right next to you.
That's right. What a pleasure.
Hey, Vlad, what got you into directing? What film stands out for you that said that you wanted to enter this business?
I like the visual entertainment, instead of reading. So that's why I liked it more growing up. Visual, watching it,
And a film, if you could choose one.
Film that I liked a lot.
Yeah.
I'd say Scarface.
No surprise there. I would have figured that one for you. All right, Kriss, go ahead.
Let's see. For my favorite movie, it's hard to say. It's easier to pick one from each genre than it is just a movie, but probably Across the Universe would be my favorite. And I got into film because I just love the visual context of film. I originally got into film in the art department, actually. I went to film school to become a production designer, but very quickly realized because of my business background that I was really good at producing independent film as well. So why I got into it and why I stayed in it are two different things. But I love it.
Makes sense. Tosh? I know you're big on the music side, but there's got to be a film because you watch some things out there too. Followed by Terry.
Yeah. So actually, this past weekend, I watched for the first time Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze, and I thought it was a really, really great movie. So that's the one that's like really fresh in my mind right now. So yeah, I'll go with Roadhouse.
Okay, so there's a Roadhouse 2 coming up. Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yes, with Jake Gyllenhaal. Yes, which is that was one of the reasons why I watched that first one, because I kind of wanted to like compare, but I don't even know how that's going to be better than the original one. The original one was pretty good.
Swayze was great and such a nice guy. Also, all right, Terry, you get the last word on this one.
What?
I know you like horror films.
What is the question again?
Favorite film?
My favorite
off the top of your head.
Oh, geez. I don't know. Old School, I guess. That's a comedy, though. But I don't know. I like comedies, too. I guess off the top of my head, that's one that's popping in.
All right, we'll go with Old School. So I got to thank everybody for coming on, for doing this. All of you are directors, which is great. Even you, Tosh, which is good. So also, this coming up, we got it's Grammy weekend. After that, follow that. It's we have the LA Arts Show. We've got the Jewish Film Festival. A couple things coming on with that. I'll talk to Helen Mirren, Taylor Hackford coming up. Like 7 days. But this weekend it will be for John Bon Jovi. Bruce Springsteen will be there. Melissa Etheridge. This Google Dolls. This should be very, very interesting for Grammy weekend. And thank you for everybody for coming out. And I always say this: have a good night tonight, a better day tomorrow. You see someone without a smile, please give them one of yours, because the world needs it, just like Howard. This is Brian Sebastian. I will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye, Brian.